The gentlemen at table 5 are discussing the acquisition. They mentioned an offer price of $50 a share.
During candlelight dinner, Black Waitress whispered a secret. The billionaire didn't finish his meal. The rain came down soft that Thursday evening, tapping against the tall windows of Marcello's like tiny whispered secrets. Maya stood near the host's stand, smoothing her black apron with hands that had been steady all day but somehow felt lighter now. The dinner crowd had thinned, leaving behind the scent of rosemary and melted butter, and the low hum of jazz floating from the corner speakers. She watched the last few tables, couples leaning close over candlelight, their voices warm and low. She'd seen 1,000 dinners like this, served 1,000 smiles. But tonight felt different. Maybe it was the way the candlelight flickered against the rain-streaked glass. Maybe it was the envelope tucked in her apron pocket, the one with her name written in her grandmother's looping hand. Maya took a breath and glanced toward the kitchen.
Just one more hour. One more shift.
And then maybe, just maybe, she'd finally open it.
Where are you watching from tonight?
Maya had worked at Marcello's for 3 years. It wasn't the kind of place she'd imagined herself at 25. White tablecloths, crystal wine glasses, men in tailored suits discussing deals she'd never understand. But it paid better than most places, and the chef, Marco, always saved her a plate when the night ran late. She knew the regulars by heart. Mrs. Pemberton, who ordered the same salmon every Tuesday and left origami cranes folded from her napkin. The couple in their 70s who held hands between courses and never looked at their phones. And then there was him. He'd been coming in for 2 weeks now. Always alone. Always at table 12, the one tucked in the corner where the candlelight barely reached. He wore expensive watches and spoke little, his eyes distant even when he smiled politely at her questions. The other servers whispered about him. Some tech billionaire, they said, though no one knew for sure. Tonight, he arrived just after 8. Maya greeted him with the same quiet warmth she gave everyone, brought him water with lemon, recited the specials. He ordered the ribeye, medium rare, and a glass of the Barolo. She wrote it down, noticed the way his fingers drummed against the table like he was counting something only he could hear. When she brought his wine, he looked up at her, really looked, and for a moment, something flickered in his expression. Not recognition exactly.
Something softy. Something sad.
Thank you, he said, and his voice carried a weight she didn't understand. Maya nodded and turned to leave, but then she felt it. The envelope in her apron pocket seemed heavier suddenly, like it was pulling at her. She'd been carrying it for 3 days now, unopened. Her grandmother had passed 2 months ago, and this letter, the last one, had arrived in the mail with no explanation. Just her name, and the words, "When you're ready." She wasn't ready. She didn't know if she'd ever be. But as she walked back toward the kitchen, she glanced over her shoulder. The man at table 12 sat perfectly still, staring at the candle flame like it held answers he'd been searching for. Something told her this night was going to be different. An hour passed. The dining room emptied until only 2 tables remained, a young couple celebrating an anniversary, and him. Table 12. Still alone.
Still staring.
Maya brought him his ribeye, perfectly seared, the scent of thyme and garlic rising from the plate. He thanked her again, that same quiet politeness, but when she turned to leave, he spoke. "Can I ask you something?" Maya paused, turned back. His eyes met hers, and this time they weren't distant. They were searching. "Of course," she said gently. "Do you believe people can change?" he asked. "Really change? After they've made mistakes they can't take back?"
The question ran in the air like the smoke from the candle.
Maya felt something tighten in her chest. She thought of her grandmother's letter, still unopened. She thought of the things she'd left unsaid, the visits she'd postponed, the phone calls she'd let go to voicemail because she was tired, because there was always tomorrow. Until there wasn't. "I think." She started, her voice softer than usual. "I think people can choose differently, even when they can't undo what's been done." She paused, then added, "Sometimes that's the bravest kind of change." He studied her face for a long moment. Then he nodded, something breaking in his expression. Relief maybe, or permission to hope. "Thank you," he whispered. Maya returned to the server station, her heart beating strangely. Marcus, the other server on shift, gave her a curious look. "You okay?" "Yes," she said, though she wasn't sure. She pulled the envelope from her apron, ran her thumb along the sealed edge. Her grandmother's handwriting blurred slightly as tears tried to form. Then she heard it. A sound from table 12.
Note à call for service. Something quiété. Something like a stifled sob.
She looked up. The man was still sitting there, his fork untouched beside his plate. His head was bowed, shoulders shaking just slightly.
The candlelight cooked the tears on his face. If this moment touched your heart, please give the video a thumb up. Maya is brisk-cooked.
She didn't know what to do. Protocol said leave guests to their privacy. But her heart said something else entirely. She walked back to his table. "Sir," she said softly, approaching like you would a wounded bird.
Is everything all right?
He looked up, quickly wiping his face with a cloth napkin. "I'm sorry," he said, his voice rough. "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't." "It's okay," Maya said, and she meant it. She pulled out the chair across from him, something she'd never done, something that would probably get her written up, and sat down. "You don't have to apologize." For a moment, he just looked at her. Then slowly he spoke. "My daughter loved this restaurant," he said. "I used to bring her here on her birthday. Every year. She'd order the chocolate souffle and make a wish before taking the first bite." He smiled, but it broke halfway. "She died 4 years ago. Car accident. She was 23. Maya's hand moved instinctively to cover his on the table. "I'm so sorry." "I wasn't there," he continued, the words tumbling out like a dam breaking. "I was in Singapore, closing a deal. She called me that morning, wanted to tell me about her new job, and I told her I'd call her back." His voice cracked. "I never did." The restaurant was so quiet now.
Just the jazz, low and mournful, and the rusty tapping at the windows.
"I've spent 4 years trying to outrun it," he said. "Building companies. Making money. Staying busy. But tonight, sitting here." He looked at the untouched steak, the candle burning low. "I realized I'm just running in circles." Maya felt the weight of the envelope in her pocket again. She pulled it out slowly, held it in her trembling hands. "My grandmother raised me," she said quietly. "My parents left when I was 6, and she stepped in without hesitation. She taught me everything, how to be kind, how to keep going even when things hurt." Her voice wavered. "She died 2 months ago, and I wasn't there either. I was working a double shift. She left me this letter, but I've been too afraid to read it." They sat there together, two strangers bound by the weight of words left unspoken. "Why are you afraid?" he asked. "Because once I read it," Maya whispered, "it'll be the last thing she ever says to me. And I don't know if I'm ready for that to be over." Have you ever faced something like this? Share your story in the comments. He nodded slowly. Then he said something that changed everything. "Maybe she knew you'd read it when you needed it most."
Not when you were ready.
"When you needed it." Maya looked down at the envelope. Her grandmother's handwriting.
When you're ready.
But maybe ready didn't mean without fear. Maybe it meant willing to feel the fear anyway. She carefully opened the seal. The paper inside was soft, worn at the edges like it had been held many times before being sealed. Maya unfolded it with shaking hands, and the man across from her waited, respectful and silent. "My darling Maya, if you're reading this, I'm already gone.
Don't cry too long, sweetheart.
I lived every day I was given, and most of them were made beautiful because of you. I know you'll blame yourself for not being there at the end. You always carry too much on those strong shoulders. But I need you to know something. I was never waiting for you to arrive. I was grateful you were out there living. You spent your whole childhood taking care of me when I got sick. You gave up college to work so we could keep the house. You became my nurse, my companion, my joy. And I loved every moment. But darling, I didn't raise you to spend your life standing still, waiting by my bedside. The greatest gift you gave me was watching you grow into a woman who loves deeply, who works honestly, who still believes in goodness even when the world is hard. That's not something you learn from a book.
That is something you are. So here's what I want you to do. Forgive yourself.
For every missed call, every visit you were too tired to make, every moment you think you failed me. You didn't fail. You lived. And that's exactly what I prayed for. Now go live even bigger. Take risks. Say the things that scare you.
Love without holding back.
And when you're old like I was, sitting in your own chair with your own long life behind you, I hope you'll smile and think she would have been proud.
I didn't want to have to
Because
tell
I
you
am.
this, but my
I always
beautiful
was.
daughter,
All my love.
she passed
Grandma
away
Rose
this
Maya's
morning.
tears fell openly now, splashing onto the paper. But these tears were different. Lighter somehow. Like something that had been locked inside her chest for months finally broke free. When she looked up, the man was crying too. She sounds like someone who really understood love, he said. She did, Maya whispered. Then, after a moment, she added, your daughter knew you loved her. How can you be sure? His voice was small, childlike almost. Because love isn't just the moments we show up, Maya said, her grandmother's words flowing through her now. It's every choice we made to try. Every time we did our best, even when our best wasn't perfect. She knew. He covered his face with his hands and wept. Not the quiet, restrained tears from before.
Réal, deep, soul shaking sob.
And Maya stayed. She didn't leave to check on other tables or refill water glasses. She stayed, one hand on his shoulder, and let him break. If you've been enjoying this story, subscribe for more heartwarming tales. When he finally looked up, his eyes were red but clearer. Thank you, he said. I don't even know your name.
Maya.
Thank you, Maya. He looked at the steak, still untouched and cold now. I don't think I can finish this meal, but I think for the first time in 4 years, I might be able to go home and sleep. She smiled through her tears. That sounds like a good start. 2 weeks later, Maya stood at the host stand, the early evening light streaming through Marcelo's tall windows. The rain had stopped days ago, leaving behind clear, crisp autumn air that smelled like new beginnings. Table 12 was occupied by a family tonight, a mother, father, and 2 young children who kept giggling as they tried to pronounce pappardelle. Maya watched them with a warm smile, remembering. The man, she'd learned his name was David, hadn't returned since that night. But 3 days after, a letter arrived at the restaurant addressed to her. Dear Maya, I went to my daughter's grave yesterday. First time in 2 years. I brought her favorite flowers and told her about the woman at Marcelo's who helped her father find his way back. I'm starting therapy. I'm reaching out to old friends I've been avoiding. I'm learning that running from pain doesn't make it smaller, it just makes the world smaller. You gave me something that night I didn't know I was looking for. Permission to be human, to mess up and still deserve grace. Your grandmother raised someone extraordinary. I hope you know that. I've made a donation in her name to a scholarship fund for young people in the service industry who want to pursue their dreams. It's called the Rose Marie Grant. Because people like you, people like her, deserve every chance to bloom. Thank you for sitting with a stranger in his darkest hour. With gratitude, David. Maya had cried reading it, then folded it carefully and placed it in the box where she kept her grandmother's letter. 2 pieces of paper that taught her the same truth, that love doesn't end when people leave. It just changes form. She'd started taking night classes at the community college.
Creative writing.
It scared her, the risk, the time, the possibility of failing. But every time doubt crept in, she heard her grandmother's voice. Go live even bigger. Tonight, as she greeted the family at table 12, she felt different. Lighter. Not because the grief was gone, but because she'd learned to carry it differently. Not as a burden of guilt, but as a testament to how deeply she'd loved. How deeply she still loved. The little girl at the table looked up at her with wide eyes. Are you a real waitress? She asked.
Maya looked softly.
I am. When I grow up, the girl announced, I want to be nice like you. Her mother smiled apologetically, but Maya knelt down to the girl's level. Then be kind to people, she said gently. Even when they're having hard days. Especially then. That's the most important kind of nice. The girl nodded seriously, and Maya stood, that familiar warmth spreading through her chest. As the evening unfolded, tables filled and emptied, laughter rose and fell, candles flickered against the windows. Maya moved through it all with a quiet grace. She wasn't just serving meals. She was holding space for people's stories, their celebrations, their sorrows. And somewhere, she knew her grandmother was smiling. Somewhere, David was learning to forgive himself.
Somewhere, all the broken pieces were slowly becoming something whole again.
The jazz played low and sweet. The rain had passed. And Maya, The 25-year-old waitress who'd learned that love and loss could live in the same heart, kept moving forward. One table, one smile, one moment of grace at a time. If you enjoyed this story, please like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more. Thank you for spending your time with us today.